there, all you cool cats and kittens. We're coming at you again from St. Augustine, Florida. Another beautiful sunny day today. And today we're going to be doing something origami. So you should have the supplies in your house. You just need some paper, maybe some scissors. So I want to show you a few books. We're not going to get this complicated today, but if you have some books laying around, in the back of these books, you can see they give you directions. So these are great. All these books that are sitting up here with me today are actually by Tom Angleberger. We do have some of them in our online ebook collection, so feel free to check them out, read them, and then show us your origami creations from them or from the crafts that we're doing today. So first question is, what? What is origami? Ori comes from the word to fold, and kami means paper. So the name kind of gives you a clue. What's the most important part of origami? What's that one supply that you need to make it happen? Yes, you are right. Paper. We need paper. So if origami needs paper, how old do you think it is? How long ago do you think it was invented? We'll see. Modern paper, not papyrus, but modern paper was actually invented in China about 1,900 years ago. And paper was not actually taken to Japan until about 400 years later, when it's thought that the Buddhist monks brought paper into Japan. Sometime during the time that paper was invented and when they brought it to Japan, origami was invented. We're not exactly sure when, because it is an oral tradition. Does anyone know what that means to be an oral tradition? Yes. It means that they didn't write it down. They just passed it verbally from generation to generation and taught the skills. So we're not 100% sure when. We just know about when. Let's see. The other thing about origami is when it started, handmade paper is really, let me give you a better example here. This looks a little bit more like it. Handmade paper is really time intensive. It's a whole process. It requires a lot of love and care to make it. So origami wasn't something you just did, kind of like we can do now when you're bored and you're sitting around the house and you want to make 1,000 paper cranes. Origami was something they did for mostly religious and ceremonial practices. And because it was a religious or ceremonial practice, all of the folds and the actual items that they did were very specific in nature. Okay, so we kind of got into this a little bit already. So origami, we're mostly sure it's originated from Japan or right before in China, and then moved quickly to Japan. The written instructions, however, weren't around for a long time. The first written instructions appeared in 1797 with the publication of a book called 1,000 Crane Foldings. We are going to learn how to do some cranes later. So origami was around for well over 1,000 years before they actually started writing it down. Now let's think, if they were just telling each other how to do it and using it in ceremonies, do you think there would be a big variety, or do you think they would kind of be doing the same thing over and over and over? Probably the same thing over and over. Now, maybe how you get from fold 1 to fold 2, that may have changed depending on who's teaching you or how you did it. The folds themselves and the actual items themselves were pretty much the same because it was used in ceremonies. So origami has definitely come a really long way. We have modern origami, and in here you can actually see there's some Pokemon in there. Modern origami is thought to be fathered by Master Yoshizawa, who published books on new models starting in the late to late 1950s. So these books really expanded what you could do with modern origami. He also came up with new techniques so that you could fold these really large, heavy pieces of paper by wetting them and then folding them. Modern origami is also a little different because it really focuses more on the puzzle aspect. How did you make that happen? How did you fit these together to create that creature, rather than the actual process of the folds? It's more about the puzzle aspect. So we can see that it's become much more complicated in that. And then we can see here that it's become really, really popular in mainstream culture with some of these awesome books. Kids do it all the time. We even have Princess Label Maker. And like I said, you can, if you find what we're doing is really easy, you can check out some of these books. You can look online and they'll have much more complicated types of one in there. But today we're really going to try to focus on some of the easier, more traditional folds. So one of the things we're going to do today is the paper cranes. And there's a legend about the 1,000 paper cranes. So it was traditionally given by a wedding gift by the father who was wishing 1,000 years of happiness and prosperity upon the newlywed couple. They can also be given to for a new baby, to wish prosperity for the new baby. Hanging the 1,000 cranes in your home is thought to be a powerful and lucky, benevolent charm for your home too. So you can actually see some temples in Tokyo or Hiroshima that have eternal flames for world peace, and at these temples, schools will donate their cranes to hang there and are left exposed to the elements, and they become dissolved and are tattered and are replaced by others that school children come. So we're not gonna make 1,000, but if you want to, you can keep making paper cranes on your own, and maybe you will have 1,000 and hang them around. This is going to be the third one we make though today. So for today's craft, you're really just going to need some square paper. If you don't have square paper and all you have is like regular copy paper, you can feel free to use that. I do suggest lightweight paper. It's easier to fold than construction paper. And like I said, if you don't have the square paper, I'm going to show you how to turn it into a square. So you are going to need a pair of scissors along with that. You may want some markers or Google Eyes so that you can turn our cute little things and decorate them into your pets for today. All right. So right here is the directions for all three crafts we're going to be making today. You may want to snap a little picture so that you can look at the directions and blow them up on your phone or on your tablet while we're doing this today. It may make it a little bit easier to follow along with. Okay, so I want to show you first of all, I brought 2 sheets in case I mess up on the first, and you know, during origami, you're going to mess up, so it just takes a little bit of patience, but we're going to show you how to make a square piece of paper if you haven't done that before, and taking it or folding it on itself. Now on origami, just take your time. Try to make your folds as exact as possible because it'll make it much easier for you down the road. So I have this nice shape here right now, and there's 2 different ways you can do it. I've seen some people fold it this way and they fold it all the way up to here, or some people fold it this way. I like to fold it this way so then I can actually see a little bit better where that other fold ends. So now it looks like a little boat, but if you look here, okay, and there's 2 different ways you can do this. If you're really good at tearing, you can unfold this and you can tear this piece off, and if you're not, you can just cut this little strip off right here. And you've got your square piece of paper. All right, so I am actually going to show you some fun little colored paper I have. We're going to start with our dog because that's actually the easiest one. So this is the one that we're going to be doing first, our dog. And once I got him folded, I decided to actually use a piece of tape because his nose kept popping out there. And I took some markers and drew his little face in. You can embellish it however you want. You can make his nose pop out. You can not, however you want. So these are from the set of directions I showed you a minute ago. I actually have them hanging up. You can't see them, but they're just off to help remind me of my folds. You're going to start by folding this in a nice triangle. So you want to make sure you get those points very nicely lined up, tip to tip. Okay. Now what you're going to do, sorry, I'm creasing it again. I'm going to fold it into another triangle. Okay, again, I just take my time, fold a nice crease, press everything down. If you're working with little ones today, sometimes they have a hard time doing the actual folds, but they are great at actually creasing and participating. So it can still be really fun for the wee ones today. Now I'm going to open it up, and you see my middle fold right here. And then when I was doing this originally, I kept trying to do the ears like this, and you can't see it hanging down. So you have to kind of work with it a little, okay? And you're going to fold it so you can see an ear hang down. Now you can give them little bitty ears. You can give them great big ears, whatever you want. Okay. I'm going to fold that down right like that. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Now you don't have to do the same thing on both sides. You could give them lopsided ears if you wanted. I'm sure mine aren't 100% perfect. We're almost there. And now you're going to just fold this nose up just a little bit, and there you go. You can decorate your dog for however you want. Easy peasy. All right, okay. So for our second one today, we're actually going to be doing a penguin, and this one I did all one color, so that I actually just went back in and colored him to make him look more like a penguin. For our sample though, I'm choosing a piece of paper that has two different textures on it. So we have this nice on this side, and then we have a white on the other side. You can do this with your white piece of paper. You could color one side up brown or black or blue or whatever you want, and then leave the other side white. Okay, so we're going to start by putting our colored side up towards us, and we're going to fold a triangle. Okay, we're going to open that triangle. We are going to turn our paper, and we're going to make another triangle. Okay, so now we've actually got a fold that goes this way and this way. And I know it's really hard to see on camera, but I think when I do that, you can kind of sort of see it. All right, so we've got that. And now we're going to this is our fold line. So we're going to come down just a little bit below that original halfway fold line, and we're going to fold up. You see that? Okay. Now we're going to fold down what's going to become part of the penguin face. Here we go. Okay, so we have this. We are going to flip the whole thing over, face down. Okay. This is our center line right here. We're going to fold about halfway in right here. Okay, I'm going to turn this around just because it's easier for me to fold. And I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. All right, so I've got that. Okay, now I'm going to fold that out. So I've got a fold that goes like this, and I'm going to do the same thing to this side. I'm going to take this tip so that we can make him have a nice little head. We don't want our penguin to have a pointy head. And I'm just going to fold that straight down. Okay, so now when I flip our lovely little penguin over, I have this. You can put some Google eyes in there. You can color the tummy however you want. But we have our cute little penguin. All right. Our third one today that we're going to do is going to be our origami crane. And this is a little bit more challenging. So if you don't get it the first time, just stick with it. You will get it. I promise. I'm going to use an orange piece of paper. You know what? I've already done an orange one. How about we do, let's see, what color should we do? How about we do a blue one or a green one? Yeah, let's do that. Okay. There we go. How about we do one this color? Okay. So, on this one, we're going to start by, just like we did on the last ones, we're going to fold our paper in half. And you'll notice on this one, I do take a lot more time in doing the creasing and making sure all these are lined up, because as we go on, it becomes more complicated and you really need those creases to be exact. Okay? So we have our first fold. Now I'm going to take this, and we have our second fold. Okay, so we have, I just took that down and folded it this way. Okay, we're going to do one more fold. Okay, so I'm just making triangle after triangle. Okay, all right. Now, if you have smaller children and they have a hard time really doing that crease, you can always use a little pair of scissors and draw just along the side like that, and it helps put that crease in there. Okay, this is where it starts to get a little tricky, and I've seen a lot of different videos on how they've done it. This is just the easiest way for me. So I open it back up to right here, okay, and I'm going to put my hand in here, and when I stick my finger into that corner, see how it starts to make a square? Okay, and now I'm very carefully going to press that down into a square, and I want to get that square as lined up as I can, and I kind of messed that up a little and didn't press down exactly right, so let me fix that as best as I can. There we go. Okay. Okay, this is probably one of the hardest steps, at least for me. So again, if you look, that was my triangle. When you're doing this, you'll see you have a fold right here. So you're going to want to open this side up. Keep your finger here on the side of the fold, okay? And you're going to, little fingers are great for this, press into that corner, and as you're pressing, it will form that square shape for you. Take your time getting your square right, because you really need this to kind of be a nice, even square for the rest of your folds. Okay, and you see how I put my hands inside and I'm folding from the inside before I press down on the outside. For me, that's how it helps me get a little bit more of an even fold. Like I said, I looked online and different people kind of get that square using different means. So I just want you to see this is a very tippy top version. So now we have our squares. You have all of these edges and you're going to put them towards you. So you can see all the insides, all the guts. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take one flap, okay, and we're going to fold it into that middle line very carefully. Okay. We're going to fold the other side into the middle line. Taking your time. We're going to flip the whole thing over, put it down on its tummy, and we're going to do exactly the same thing on this side. We're going to fold it down to the middle line. Fold it down the middle line. Okay, so now you've got something that looks like this. I like to put my crease in right now. Okay, my two little sides end right here, so I take this and crease this part. I'm actually going to use my scissors to crease this because that will help me later. Okay, and then I open it back up. All right. So again, this is a little bit of a weird part. You're going to open it up, and when you open it on your end, you're going to see all these creases. Okay, they're hard to see on camera. And now that you have this new crease here, you're going to hold your hands, okay, and it's going to want to open like this, and you're going to make really long triangles now. And sometimes it just pops right into place just like that did. I was really lucky that time. Sometimes I have to kind of force it. So I'm flipping it over. Again, you see, okay, so I put my fingers right here. Open these up. I'm going to open up this whole thing, holding my fingers here, okay, to force it to fold on that line. Okay, now this one is being a little bit more difficult, which I guess is kind of good, so you can see how I have to work with it. Okay. Sometimes it's like this. You just have to really work with it to, all the folds are already there. Sometimes it just doesn't want to go. Okay, I'm going to do it sooner or later. There we go. Okay. Just some patience. So one side went real easily and one side didn't. I guess that's good for you to see. And I like to call these the legs, even though they're not going to be the legs. But you've got two legs, and then you've got what's going to be the back. Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to hold the legs towards you. Okay, and you're going to fold it in. And this is almost just like the step we did earlier. Okay, and we're going to do this on every single side. Flip it over. We're going to fold it on this side. Fold it on this side. Boom. Okay, again, legs are here. This part is a little tricky, and we're actually going to do this step once or twice. So now, this is our flat side. Well, we need to make this our new flat side. So I'm going to try to do this so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to turn it like this. I'm taking my fingers here in the centers, and I'm going to, hopefully you saw how, and now I'm making this. I inverted it. Okay, so this is my new flat side. Okay, I'm going to, when you're folding, you'll actually be able to see your line right here, which is going to be the underside of the body. You can't fold up any higher than that. You're going to fold up one wing, flip it over, fold up your other wing. You're so close to being done. I know this is a lot of steps. Okay, now I have to invert it to the way it was again. Sorry. Okay, again, holding my fingers like this. All right, and I'm going to press this all nice and flat. You are so close to being done. All right, so we pretty much have our crane. Now we're going to kind of foof it a little bit, and one side of this is going to be our head and our tail. So what I like to do is, this one just takes a little bit of playing with. You're going to kind of work this out so that it pulls out a little bit, and I smush it with my fingers down here to hold it into place. And you're going to fold your little head. Okay, and the same goes for the tail. So I just pull it, and then I kind of, let's see, there we go. Invert it, come on.